Hello, my name's Elijah Wells, and today we're going down to my musical taste. Yes, my 25 favourite songs of my personal taste. Add to the fact that I'm turning 25 at 11th of August, and that I have 69 subscribers, and I've been doing this for almost a decade now, this YouTubing thing, so my music taste has definitely matured over that time, so let's get on with it. But first, I read some honourable mentions, as in songs that are really brilliant but not exactly top 25, but still brilliant songs. Starting with Under Your Spell by Desire, Washing Machine Heart by Mitski, Alamar Tuturo's Gigi D'Agostino, Running That Hill by Kate Bush, In the Aeroplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel, This Is America, Childish Gambino, Pyramids, Frank Ocean, Grace Kelly, Mika, LFEGUESON, Life Goes On by Noah and Whale, Wheel in the Sky, Journey, Pompeii, Bastille, Dancing in the Moonlight, Top Loader, We Didn't Start a Fire by Billy Joel, Land Down Under by Men at Work, 8 Circle by Bon Iver, Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, Purple Rain by Prince, Praise You by Fatboy Slim, I've Seen Footage, Death Grips, and Wake Up by Arcade Fire. And now, here's the main list. At number 25 we have Enjoy the Silence by Depeche Mode from the Violator album. I have been somewhat intrigued by Depeche Mode, particularly I have this album literally in my room and I have listened to quite a lot of other stuff they did, like Never Let You Down Again, or Just Can't Get Enough, The Pain I'm Used To, or the more recent stuff like Ghost Again, or Where's the Revolution, and The Cosmos Is Mine, which is a lot of brilliant stuff, but for my pick it's Enjoy the Silence. So much so I've even went to a church talent show which they ran, and I actually sang that song in that talent show because I really like that song so much. For number 24 it's Let It Be by the Beatles from the Let It Be album. Again, this is probably a best of finale that can ever come out from any band, particularly of the Beatles, as again, this was the final album, Let It Be. And I think this is probably one of the most simple yet sentimental songs the band has ever did, outside something like Day of a Life or something like Our Revolver or something. But again, I think an easy pick for me is Let It Be, but I think a very close second would be like Yellow Submarine, or Ella Rigby, or Come Together, or Da Da Dee Da 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 Da, even though it kind of has a divisive reception around this song for really silly reasons, or Nowhere Man, which is an underrated song from the Yellow Submarine soundtrack. But again, in my personal opinion, it's the Let It Be. And of course, they are known for like Gently Weeping My Guitar and Long Winding Road as well. But again, Let It Be is my personal favourite from the Beatles. For 23, it's Take Care from Beach House from the Teen Dream album. I think I was nearing the end of my uni years, or at the end of year 3, when I got around to checking out stuff at Beach House, particularly in this album, the Teen Dream album. I think songs like Zebra and Norway and Anywhere You Go is also really good. But I think the pinnacle of that album is definitely Take Care, the final song from that album as well, which is which my sister, who described it while driving me back from uni, did say it's almost like a breakup song from an indie soundtrack, like an indie movie soundtrack, like a pair breaking up. Like it has some sort of a anti-romantic feel to it, and a kind of a solemn but more of a somber feel to it, as a kind of a gradual way of kind of like moving on. But it's gonna hurt when you're gonna have to move on and just progress onwards and all that, which is again what Take Care is. It kind of feels like to me. It's after university I just had to move on really after it got severely interrupted by COVID. At 22 there's Brown Eyed Girl from Van Morrison from the Blowing Your Mind album. This is definitely a very easy, very breezy song, and it has a massive timeless appeal from him, from basically one of the most famous folk artists of all time, who's known for like Astral Dance and Everyone, and songs like Everyone from the Moondance album. Again, I also like his more recent stuff he did for the Belfast movie, directed by Kenneth Branagh. Again, a massively talented singer-songwriter, but just do not get started when it comes to COVID or lockdown, since he has gone some trouble for being a anti-lockdown activist. But again, the Brown Eyed Girl song is just a really good, nice and easy, simple song just to really get the day going, and also really nice and motivational. And he did say in one of the songs, like in the Harlow neighbourhoods, I actually been to the Harlow neighbourhoods in Belfast, which we referenced, which is a heavily Protestant area of Belfast. And also Conan O'Brien did have a very funny story when he misheard the lyrics to something a little bit more problematic and a little bit more sexual. But again, you can find it at your own time. It's basically when Conan O'Brien misheard Van Morrison, and it just turned into something a bit unfortunate. At 21, there's Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads from the Remain in Light album. I think this is almost the opposite of Brown Eyed Girl from Van Morrison, as this one feels way more existential and a lot more sense involved, since this is what Talking Heads is known for, and a lot of loops, particularly with David Bryan as the lead vocalist and the lyricist for the band. I feel like he really knocked that one out of the park. Like, just how repetitive it gets, it kind of plays into its really strong advantage, to the point it's almost feels kind of repeats into your head like you're having an existential crisis. Like, do you remember to do your taxes? Do you remember to pay your rent? Do you remember to do this? Like, do you remember to pay your mortgage? Or do you remember to go to your groceries? Like, it just feels like it constantly reminds you of what you need to do. Like, this isn't my beautiful house. This isn't my beautiful wife. Where did that highway go to? Who drives that large automobile? Like, it just runs a lot of questions through your head. Just what a good existential exercise should do. For number 20, it's Jesus Freak from DC Talk from the album Jesus Freak. Like, this is a song that's really important within the Christian community. That there's even Pitchfork did a review of it a few months ago, and there's even a book by 33 and a Third who did a book on it when they do a series of like really important albums. Like, it's important in the contemporary Christian music industry, to say the least. Like, there's Matt Redman, there's like Maverick City, and there's stuff like Hillsong and Soul Survivor, which, even though the latter two have been mired in some considerable amount of controversy, but regardless, and also there's stuff like Newsboys and Casting Crowns as well, given that I pretty much live in a religious family. But for my money, I think DC Talk pretty much takes the crown, in my opinion, with the song Jesus Freak. And to be honest, that entire album would definitely eat up Kanye West's Jesus is King in like one sitting. Like, it would like devour it. At number 19, it's So Lonely by The Police from the Outlanders D'Amour album, which in my opinion is just a brilliant album through and through, to the point I actually got the vinyl off my dad recently. And also, this song is like so good, and so much so I did listen to it throughout sixth form, or it's after like around before secondary school and before uni, before anyone outside of Britain knows how our schools work. But it's basically Sting's just loneliness in general, and the song is again super simple, and the guitar works in this is brilliant. The bass is absolutely amazing. Sting's vocals is absolutely perpetually great in this song. But again, there's a lot of things I would have gone with, like Wrapped Around Your Finger, or Invisible Sun is also a good song, or Message in a Bottle is also really great from The Police. And also Spirit in the Material World is also a good song. But again, for my money, it's So Lonely. For number 18, we have Sound and Vision from David Bowie. This is from his Low album, when he's dabbling into more post-punk sounds that are more well-known in that genre, like Won't You Be My Wife. But Sound and Vision is also a brilliant song, but there's also other magnificently great songs like Life on Mars, and Starman is also a great song. Even stuff on his Black Star album, which is a brilliant but incredibly depressing album, like Lazarus, Black Star, and Pity is a Season for Crime is also really good from that album. And just a lot of good songs. And also his albums like Aladdin Sane and Labyrinth is also brilliant. But again, a personal favourite of mine is Sound and Vision, which I actually did heard from like an old Sony advert from like 10 years ago when they were promoting their old smartphones. And it was like a simple a piano ballad. For CD and hear the original more post-punk stuff that Bowie was doing, it just elevated it for me, in my opinion. And for number 17, we have Smells Like Teen Spirit from Nirvana from the Nevermind album. This song is iconic, like, no argument about that. The song is absolutely iconic, and Kurt Cobain is just pretty much an icon at this moment now. And also, I do love anything that Nirvana's made to the point. I think it was one of the handful of bands I got like most or if not all of their discography, even though they released like 3 albums officially. And also got their compilation album and a Live from New York Unplugged album, which I also got. But I like other songs like Come As You Are, Something in the Way, Rape Me is also a really good song, Heart Shaped Box, Lithium is also a super good song, and even the live stuff and the unplugged stuff, like the man, like the We Never Lost Control from David Bowie. No, The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie. I almost got the lyrics, almost got the words for a moment. But again, the song is just a blood pumping adrenaline rush that will really start your day really great as well, and it's just an absolute banger that never gets old. Even though it's now like over 30 years old, it just still feels extremely fresh. It still feels extremely new, even though I was not born in 1991. At number 16, we have When the Sun Hits by Slowdive from the Slovakia album. This was, unlike Nirvana, where it just felt timeless from day one, the Slovakia album had to essentially build its reputation up in an uphill battle, since it was released around the same time in 1993 when shoegaze was really falling out of public eye and people were just getting really disinterested by the genre. But now it's shoegaze and dream pop is a pretty majorly popular genre now, with like Tame Impala, who's now gone more psychedelic. Like we have like Dream, we have like Beach House as well, and M83 now done this genre. And also, again, Slovakia and My Bloody Valentine did do comebacks around that time, and it's also like stuff from the 90s like Can't Do Twins. But in my opinion, the When the Sun Hits is a very nice song that you can definitely listen to on a day's walk, even in a city or in the woods or something, and it still feels incredibly refreshing, and all that reverb and all that brilliant guitar work and the smooth vocals, it just adds layers and layers to this already delicious cake of a song. And of course, even though back then it did get middling reviews from both critics and audiences, it's now today is considered a massive masterpiece by both today's audiences and today's critics, to the point that I think some even called it one of the best rock albums to come out of the 90s. At number 15, it's Angel by Massive Attack from the Mezzarine album. That song is probably one of the best openers to any album like ever. Like the very industrial rock heavy stuff that Massive Attack does is pretty much all on show, particularly in this gorgeous as hell song they did, being Angel. Like the very smooth and yet really haunted lyrics like "You are my angel," and the very heavy drones and heavy bass kind of kick in, and a very exhilarating guitar riffs literally play in the background. Like this song is like a force of a tsunami to be reckoned with. Like it is like a phenomenally brilliant song. I think I imagine this song being played in like when Patrick Bateman kind of walks into his office with his like earpieces. Like I think this is the ultimate Stigma male theme song out there. Besides Aqua Barbie Girl, like I think every Stigma male likes that, and as well as Angel by Massive Attack. Like I'm the ultimate badass, about to start my day doing badass stuff, like Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. And for number 14, we have Bittersweet Symphony from The Verve from the Urban Hymns album. Even though Richard Ashcroft, the vocalist of the band, has been getting an unfortunate reputation as being one of the most controversial musicians in Britain, given that he's has been given a pension for breaking up and splitting up the band at his own whim and being an anti-lockdown activist apparently. But again, I really love Bittersweet Symphony. Again, I also played this at a church challenge show. Like, I absolutely love this song. I think even ITV also played this song when England football played their matches, but they don't do it anymore. I don't know why, but it was a great song. But I actually remember first listening to it when I was just entering secondary school, which is, for you Americans, I think maybe middle school or something. But I think it was when my teachers played it and I was just instantly hooked already. Like, the violins score and the whole orchestra just kicks in and Richard Ashcroft's vocals just kind of sweeps everything away for a, what to say, a 5 minute plus a beautiful mess that was Britpop. That was unfortunately around that time just imploded in popularity, not just due to Oasis with the Gallagher's toxic brotherly rivalry, and the songs have been criticised for being way too long. But I think at this one, not a minute has been wasted. Like, some may call it long, but I call this perfect. At number 13, we have Recover from Churches from the album The Bones of What You Believe In. I've actually heard of this song when I was in a hard rock cafe in Berlin when it was playing on the TV radio thing. And again, like Bittersweet Symphony, I was like instantly hooked. I was trying to scaffold like anything about churches around that point. I think it was also like the same year I think they collaborated with Marshmello for a song I completely forgot about. But again, I absolutely got hooked into this song, and particularly the album The Bones of What You Believe In, which is just synth pop bliss at this point. Like, We Sing and The Mother We Share is also some really great songs in the album. And also they did release an album called Screen Violence, which also got a lot of praise, particularly as it focuses on a lot more of like the 80s horror tropes around that point. But again, I think my personal favourite from Churches is Recover, their deep cut from The Bones of What You Believe In. For number 12, it's Save Me from Amy Mann from the Magnolia soundtrack. Yes, we are going down to the soundtrack alley with Amy Mann's Save Me, which is, in the movie, it's a 3-hour plus epic, essentially about strained relationships, and Save Me is also like a super great song. Again, basically wanting someone to save her, like Peter Pan or Superman. And I think also a lot of good songs on my album, like Momentum, One, or Build That Wall. Just so many, and also Wise Up, which actually did play with while all the characters were literally singing along to that song. Literally before the scene literally rains in frogs. Kind of like the movie itself. This album is absolutely brilliant, and so is this song Save Me, which definitely did deserve its Oscar nomination, but it lost to You Be in My Heart by Phil Collins from the Tarzan soundtrack. Like, great song, but I prefer Amy Mann, particularly the song Save Me. At number 11, we have The Less I Know The Better from Tame Impala from the Currents album. Again, this is another band I got introduced to during lockdown or at uni. Again, this is a band that's been recently popping up everywhere, and I just really liked the stuff they did, like their debut album, Microscopicism, I think it was called, but I think I'm definitely mispronounced that one. But the stuff in Currents when they went to the more dream pop territory, which is absolutely brilliant, and so is Lonerism as well. But again, this song and Let It Happen is also same person, New Mistakes. Also really good song, and also the music video for this song is absolutely a complete mind trip. Like, it's like tripping balls on LSD, this song. Like, basically a man loses a girl to a gorilla. I just wish the Harambe memes just pointed the song out for me, because I wish I know that song better if it came out earlier, but I'm just kind of run that joke into the ground already. But again, the less I know, the better. I mean, Kevin Parker's vocals in that song is just absolutely a chef's kiss. And now we go to our top 10. With number 10 we have Lost in the World by Kanye West from the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Even though it has been incredibly difficult being a Kanye West fan, given the allegation that he's essentially a massive bully to a lot of people and that he's shown pornography to some Adidas staff, and his widely documented anti-Semitic tweets and his bizarre apology by watching 21 Jump Street for some reason. Like, I think his career is essentially in tatters right now, but also, I absolutely love My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like, Runaway, All the Lights is also good, Dark Fantasy is also brilliant, Devil in the New Dress is also a great song, and Gorgeous with that insane guitar riff is also really good. But for my money, it's Lost in the World, the closing-ish track, because it does end with Who Will Survive in America, the interlude. But again, I really love Lost in the World. Like, it opens with Bon Iver's or Justin Verlin's vocals with a lot of heavy reverb. And just the instrumentation just builds and builds and builds like a film score. Like, this album is essentially like a cinematic epic. Like, this could go on for like, the whole album could go on like 3 hours, and it will just feel like 2. And Kanye's vocals is actually on point, the production is actually brilliant, and the music video is actually unbelievably gorgeous with its black and white photography as well. Again, even though his career is essentially on life support, but I do like his stuff on Yeezus, and Kids See Ghost is also really good. But again, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is a brilliant album, unless if you're Anthony Fantano. At number 9 we have Sugar Paula, or Lost at Sea from Sugaros from the Tak album. I think I first listened to that band when I was in secondary school, I think. Particularly from this song, which did appear in some advertisement or some trailer, I can't remember off the top of my... it was for Tempest with Helen Mirren in the movie. It was featured in the trailer, if I'm being super specific about it. And that song is absolutely beautiful, and John Z's vocals, he sounds like an angel. It just made me cry. Like, it's that album, the Talk album, which is also super good, and it's also the Valtardi album, which is also famous for having like all of its tracks have music videos and short films attached to them, to the point I actually have on Blu-ray. And that album just made me cry like a baby, just because John Z's voice is just so beautiful. And for the Sakapola, or Lost at Sea as it's known in Icelandic, since they do most of their singing in Icelandic, and also some made up language which also derives from Icelandic-ish. Again, it's an 8 or 7 minute long epic, so it's definitely maybe a bit more of a patient listening, but again, the instrumentation just builds and builds, and his vocals are just so angelic, and just so beautiful. It just kind of sweeps me off my feet. It's like being ascended up to heaven and you just hear his voice. It's just so gorgeous, it's just so heavenly. At number 8, it's Where's My Mind from the Pixies from the Surfer Rosa album. Again, the guitar work and the electronic guitar work in this song is unmatched. Like, it did not have any right to be this good, and the vocals are amazing, the lyrics are really brilliant, even though it was inspired by the lead vocalist's trip to the Caribbean and doing some scuba diving trip, not blowing up a financial district like the narrator did in Fight Club. So I've listened to that song in a strange part of my life. So again, the song is absolutely a haunted masterpiece from an alt rock goddess, being the Pixies, who basically revolutionized alt rock to a lot of people. Like, they did this album, Surfer Rosa, as well as the more highly regarded album Doolittle. But even though something like Gigantic is also a really good song, and Here Comes Your Man, and Monkey Goes to Space, and a lot of these songs are also good, but for my opinion, I think Where's My Mind from the Pixies is probably my favourite Pixie song. And yes, I probably would have most likely got that from the Fight Club, like, since this song did become popular again through Fight Club, so maybe that could even it out. For number 7, it's New Dawn Fades from Joy Division from the Unknown Pleasures. And before you boomers say out there, like, hey, you like Joy Division because it looked good as a t-shirt. Like, okay, I'm guilty. I have the band's album art of Unknown Pleasures as a t-shirt, and I even have it as a tote bag because this album's absolutely brilliant. And can you name 5 songs that isn't Love Will Tear Us Apart? Easy! Like, Isolation, Atrocity, Exhibition, When Will It End, She Lost Control, Disorder, and of course, New Dawn Phase. Like, I can name 5 songs that isn't Love Will Tear Us Apart, and I've definitely earned the status of I can actually now wear this t-shirt, because since a lot of people, since a lot of Joy Division fans have been very vocal about people wearing the band's t-shirt without necessarily listening to the album, but I actually have it, so I have that capital over everyone else, so YOLO. But also, Closer is also a really good album. Unfortunately, I only did like 2 albums before Ian Curtis unfortunately committed suicide in 1980, but his legacy lives on with these 2 very immaculate post-punk albums, which are just so revolutionary that its vibes could be still felt to this day, particularly with the song New Dawn Phase, which has some of the most haunted lyrics out there. The bass line is absolutely killer. The drums, particularly at the end, just felt like it's just piercing into the dark, and its electronica drones in the beginning are really haunted, really good, and really groovy as well. I think this whole song is essentially Ian Curtis's cry for help, since he unfortunately suffered from a really bad mental state, and he had a really severe case of epilepsy, which did really harm his creative process and really got into some conflict with the band, unfortunately. But the band did regroup into New Order at the end. At number 6, we have Swimming Pools, Drank by Kendrick Lamar from the Good Kid, Mad City album. Even though I like everything Kendrick Lamar's done, but in my opinion, the Swimming Pools album is, in my opinion, it's my favourite. Yes, Alright is a brilliant song, and so is Humble is also really brilliant, and N95 is also brilliant as well, but for my opinion, it's Swimming Pools. It's particularly inspired by Kendrick Lamar's grandfather, who unfortunately passed away from his drinking, and how he got into the habit of drinking and led his friends down that path, and his friends ended up being worse. Again, it did reference like, swimming pools, he must like swimming, but no, he pretty much would probably drink a whole swimming pool of liquor then dive in. Like, just like the lyrics say, and the production is like unrivaled in that decade of hip hop. Like, I couldn't name like a better hip hop act that pretty much emerged out of 2010s than Kendrick Lamar. And even though I prefer something like To Pimp a Butterfly as an album package, but what had the best songs? Maybe Good Kid, Mad City. Particularly song Swimming Pools. Now we're in the final stretch for the top 5. For number 5, we have When You Sleep from My Bloody Valentine from the Loveless album. I absolutely love this album. Like, I pretty much listened to this album almost back to front at this point, because this album is just so good. Again, Only Swallow is probably one of the most explosive openings out there for a song, and Soon Soon is also a really good song in this album, but When You Sleep, it's lyrically one of the most romantic songs out there, and has one of the most brilliant guitar riffs out there by Kevin Shields, who is pretty much a mastermind behind the shoegaze genre and dream pop, since he basically so much so people credit him for revolutionizing how people play guitar. This album is so good, like, and this is why shoegaze is pretty much one of the most biggest genres to come out. Like, this album's like way ahead of its time at that point. So please thank Kevin Shields for the slow and reverb trend and the dream pop and shoegaze phenomenon that's going on at right this moment now. And he also did the MPV Volop album, which came out like 22 years later. And he also did the soundtrack for Lost in Translation, which you should check out. At number 4, we have New York I Love You, Boy You're Bringing Me Down from LCD Sound System from the Sound of Silver album. Again, this is one of the more un-LCD sound system songs out there. Even though most of the songs go on for like well over 5 minutes, and they're basically start a dance punk group out from Brooklyn, New York, I think. But also they did some incredible albums. Even my dad agreed. Even the debut album said it did. My dad said it reminded him a lot of the Stranglers as well. And also stuff on This Is Happening is also absolutely brilliant. Like Dance Yourself Clean and One Touch, Drunk Girls, and I Can Change is also good. And also the debut stuff like Daft Punk Is Playing at My House, and also songs like Your City's a Sucker is also good. But New York I Love You, You're Bringing Me Down is also also like a dreary anthem song about New York post 9/11. New York in its most unflattering light, like a mayor who thinks he's a king, and people living off minimum wage, shops being shut, and why there's no better place to call home than just New York. Like there's no such. It's basically a song being there's no such place as home. Even your home is basically a stinking rat hole. Again, not a gleaming picture of New York, but a song about home. Something that James Murphy, who's an absolutely brilliant poet and a brilliant songwriter and just a brilliant musician altogether, just crafted such a brilliant 5-minute plus song about his love-hate relationship about New York. At number 3, we have Outro by M83 from the Hurry Up We're Dreaming album. I actually did recently see him live recently at the Roundhouse, and I actually did some photos on him on Instagram and on Twitter, and I actually did a really terrible job of trying to sing along to the album, which might have maybe annoyed Anthony Gonzalez a titty bit if he knew about it, but that song is just the most epic, the most gorgeous 5 or 4 minutes of my life. Like, if you play this at your wedding, like, kudos to you, you have immaculate music taste. Like, I think that's the one song I would play at my wedding. And this is like a truly epic song. Like, it's almost like a film score. Like, he's building and building, since he is also a film composer, but mostly films like Oblivion and some films he scored with his brother, Young Gonzalez. And even though the lyrics are really extremely minimal at best, it just completely roars into life into its second half of the song with some amazing synths, incredible drum works, brilliant guitar work as well. Just, this is the everything that comes together in this amazing package that's the finale song of a brilliant album. Like, he's done it with, like, Lower Your Eyelids with Do Die With The Sun is also really good. In the Before Dawn Heals Us, The Highest Journey from the first Digital Shades album is also super great as well. Again, he does know how to really close an album out, and this is his best way of doing it. For number 2, it's How to Disappear Completely from Radiohead from the Kid A album. Radiohead, it's a band that'll give you bangers, tears, 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 and basically eventual depression. Like, this is definitely probably one of the more sadder songs Radiohead's done, even though a lot of the discography is pretty depressing. This song does champion pretty much a already really amazing album that's already out there, like Everything in Its Right Place, Idiot Tech, or National Anthem is also really good, and Motion Picture Soundtrack is also really, really amazing as well. Even though I like a lot of things Radiohead has done, like Benz, OK Computer, In Rainbows, and Moonshaped Pool is also a really good album. He written this song at a point where he's constantly having mental breakdowns and was really struggling with the direction of his life up to this point, and this is kind of his self-motivation as just pretend you're just about to disappear. Like, I think this is more of a weird, glitchy album, which, although it did turn a lot of people off when it came out, but Kid A has already grown to be one of the most important albums ever made, and if so, one of the greatest albums of all time, in my opinion. Even though my favourite album from them is In Rainbows, which has them going to a more pop-oriented nature, more pop direction, rather than more alt-rock stuff they would usually do. But again, his vocals is absolutely amazing, Tom York's vocals, and his lyrics are absolutely mesmerizing. Again, him under the weight of his own success, and the trumpet soundtrack that does play sporadically throughout the song is also really haunted as well. The piano work through a lot of their discography, like Moonshine Paul, is also good, but also the guitars in that song is really good as well. It's just one of the most haunted and one of the most really draining songs out there, and it kind of gets all Tom York's emotion, all of his rawness, gets it out, and it's almost visceral how emotional Radiohead's songs get. And my #1 favourite song of all time is Wish You Were Here from Pink Floyd, from the Wish You Were Here album. Again, I think it's kind of common at this point. I do like some tragic songs, as this one is pretty tragic and pretty depressing, as the founding member of Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett, who has essentially been in social seclusion since the 70s until his death in 2006. He pretty much shut himself off from the rest of the band, unfortunately, given his poor mental health at this time, and that he was a rampant LSD user. And then one day he just came back to the studio with the rest of the band, like David Gilmour and Roger Waters, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright, and he said, let's get a move on. But they just finished the album, Wish You Were Here, and he was, at this point, he was like overweight, he was bald, and he had like a bag full of sweets, and he just was just there. He just wished he was there, like, and so did the bands, and they were writing a song before he just randomly walked into his studio, and they just wished he was there all that time. It was just a song about losing a friend, even through death, or just a friend who just wasn't there anymore, to be honest. It's almost a song about mourning a friend, like a friend who's just gone away and probably never going to return again. Like, and it feels really potent and really depressing once you dig deeper and deeper into the song's backstory and how the album is being recorded. And even though the tumultuous relationship of Roger Waters and David Gilmour, even though it has had its highs and lows, and Roger Waters' politics, which I'm just not going to get into, but I feel like the biggest star of the band is Syd Barrett, who's essentially, this was his baby, and he just was taken away by drugs, and he had fits of schizophrenia. Like, the band just hope he was doing well and just wish for the best for him, even though he's not there anymore. Like, this is a song about him, Syd Barrett. He's just a lost soul swimming in a fishbowl year after year, running over the same old gravel. How he found the same old field. The band just wished he was here. So, what do you think of my favourite songs of all time? Let me know in the comments. There's a playlist down there in the description. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and this is Light Wells, and bye!